Good morning. Welcome back. I don't know if it's morning where you are. It's morning where I am right now. But I wanted to hop on here and talk about something that has kind of been weighing on my heart, but I've kind of been a little chicken shit to talk about because I never want my parents to think that I am bad mouthing them in any way. And I think that all of our parents as a whole do the best they can with what they have. So I just want to put that little disclaimer out there that I do understand that they were doing the best they could with what they had. I'm not pointing blame, but I want to talk about what we've learned about emotions growing up because I'm seeing this a lot, especially in my clients and in the women that I work with. It's popping up all over the place. And so I know that I am not alone in my experience and that you are not either. And the biggest thing that I see when I look at our generation, the way that we were raised, the quit your down bawling era, be a big girl, I'll give you a reason to cry, right? We kind of grew up with like stuff your emotions down. You only go to therapy if there's a problem. And we really have learned that there is a stigma around it. And so as children, we learned our own survival tactics. Like we learned how to keep the peace with ourselves, and then we carry a lot of those learned behaviors into adulthood and we realize that it actually doesn't serve us well. And we aren't sure how to kind of excavate that. This is what I help women do is like excavate that and be able to set powerful boundaries and really put systems into your life, get things off your plate, stop being a people pleaser. But um but I want to speak here to what we have learned by being raised with parents who did not know how to regulate their own emotions, who did not know how to set boundaries that were healthy, who really didn't know much about nervous system regulation, who had all of these thoughts and ideas around therapy, and you only go to therapy if you have a problem, but they didn't want to look at their problems. So all the problems just got swept under the rug, and we kept pretending like everything was fine. This was especially prevalent, I feel like, in a lot of high demand religions. I was born in the LDS faith, I was raised in the LDS faith, and this is a huge issue in that faith too, is that like the man is the head of the household. He's basically the boss. We just comply to what he says. And if you have seen The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, it depicts Mormonhood in Utah very well. It truly, truly does. And it is so harmful and so damaging. And so we learn all of these things about our emotions growing up that are so unhealthy. And so if you were raised by a parent who did not know how to regulate their own emotions, then we did not feel safe to have our own emotions because we constantly felt like we had to manage ourselves so that our parent would not explode or react or come at us and tell us everything we were doing wrong. And so that's where we learned how to survive. We learned how to survive as kids. We learned how to people please. We learned how to fawn. If you haven't heard of fawning, it's basically kind of getting just like paralyzed, like a deer in the headlights. You just are kind of stuck where you're at and you just don't know what to do. And so you just like freeze, right? Like um, we've we've learned these coping mechanisms and we don't know how to set healthy boundaries because we're not comfortable with other people's emotions. And so I know that a lot of us, when we think about setting boundaries, we also think about how is that other person going to respond? And quite frankly, to just put it bluntly, that's none of our business. Yeah, they're going to react at us probably, but the only reason they are reacting at us is because they benefited from us not having a boundary. We were serving a need for them in some way, and it was not serving us because, again, we were abandoning ourselves to keep them happy. And then when we decide we're no longer available for that behavior, they get a little angry. Their little gangsters come out. If you've heard me talk about the little gangsters before, right? We have all these parts within us, and all of these parts are kind of like little toddlers, these little gangster toddlers running around. And these are the versions of us who are still kind of stuck back in childhood. So for me, there was a really strong part of me who like blamed myself for a lot of the stuff that happened when I was a kid. It's popping up again in adulthood. We cracked this wide open in therapy the other day. Um, kind of starting to excavate that, but it's this learned behavior. So then I just learned to tuck all my needs away, that I couldn't have any. They weren't going to get met anyways. There was a lot of emotional neglect and abuse in my home. And so I learned behaviors of being avoidant, of being a people pleaser, of just never expressing any of my needs because I didn't feel safe to have them or ask for them. And so when we are raised this way, we get really uncomfortable with the fact that maybe we even have needs. And so we sweep ourselves under the rug and we take care of everyone else. This is what society teaches. This is kind of what religion teaches, is that as a mom, it's our job to care for everybody else. We are the nurturer, we are the caretaker. It's a man's job to go to work and provide. And then he comes home and we're putting the hot meal on the table. We're maintaining the house. We're getting the kids to their activities. We are keeping track of what uniforms they need for the sports and are they clean. And we're like anticipating the things that are done, the things that need to be done, the things that have been done. And we are just constantly running on this invisible load that we carry as moms that I talked about a few weeks ago. And it gets heavy. Life gets really heavy. And so we have to start getting this out of our heads. And we have to start learning how to set really powerful boundaries and how to regulate our own emotions. And we get to start to decipher what is ours to pick up. So I talk about picking up stones, picking up other people's stones, right? And putting them in our backpack. And when we continue to pick up other people's stones and put them in our backpack, that gets really heavy. And so we've got to learn that mom's emotions or dad's emotions or my sister's emotions, they're none of my business. And when I put a boundary in place, if they get upset with me, that is not my job. That is their job to figure that out. And it is only our job to stay on our side of the street. We only have to clean up our side of the street. They get to clean up their side of the street should they choose to. So, again, remembering we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves. And so, when we think about the life that we want to live, how we actually want to feel our emotions, and what we want to teach our kids about their emotions, because maybe if you're like me, you've started off motherhood being like, quit your damn bawling, and you've started carrying out that pattern, and then you decided there was a better way. And now you're learning that better way, but you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling frazzled, you're feeling really frustrated, and you don't know how to show up a different way. You're just trying to survive life. It is one baby step at a time. And it really starts with just really looking at the areas of your life where you are saying yes to other people when you really want to say no, when you are just doing things in life because that's what you were taught. And if you do things differently, you stress about what your mom going to say or what is your sister going to say. These are really good areas to start with, and just start looking at it and don't judge it. Just start to look at, what am I doing that I actually don't want to be doing? Where am I spending time that I don't actually want to spend time here? And really, you get to start to find yourself again. This is a whole process that I guide my one-to-one clients through. I offer one-to-one, and then I have Mom Life Mastery, which is like a course that you get to go through that teaches you all of this. Plus, we have a group coaching component to it. So if that is something that ever interests you, like, reach out to me on my Instagram. Doors will be opening again soon for Mom Life Mastery. They only open a couple times a year. But I want you to just really think about all the areas of your life that you're like, if you feel like you're surviving your days and your head hits the pillow at night and you're like, what did I get done? And holy shit, I survived. It's time to remove things from your plate. This is where we put systems in place. I have a system for boundaries. I have a system for systems in your home. I have a system for everything, because if we just fly by the seat of our pants, nothing gets done, right? It's like the vacation that doesn't ever happen if we never put it on the calendar. So it's like, pick the day, put it on your calendar, and then you're going to make it happen. And so it's the same concept. It's like, if you only sit here and think about it and you don't actually take action on this episode and you don't actually decide, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, pick one small thing and just say, you know what? I'm actually not going to do that anymore. I know I've shared this example on an episode before. I don't remember which episode, but if you work from home, or you stay at home and your mom comes over every single day knocking on your door and interrupts that work time, or maybe it's your child's nap time and you like to read a book and your mom comes over at that exact same time every single day and you've been like, Mom, I love you, but I'm going to need you to call before you come over. And if you continue to come over and just knock on my door at your own free will anytime you decide, I'm just not going to answer it anymore. So you got to put that boundary in place, right? And then, of course, she's going to have her reaction. And, I've seen both. I've seen some be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was an issue for you. And then the other end of the spectrum would be like, oh my gosh, I just want to see my grandbaby and I just love seeing you and you don't love me. Like, you're going to have anything in between there, right? But you are the one suffering. And it's really easy to let ourselves down and not let others down. Like, it is easy. We are the easiest person to let down. And you are the person that you are in relationship with. You are the person that you spend the most time with. If you are constantly letting yourself down, if you are constantly not doing what you say you're going to do, I want to ask you where your confidence level's at right now in life, in anything. It's probably going to be pretty low. And so we want to get that confidence back up. We want to build you up to a place where you can set powerful boundaries and feel really good about it and feel a lot of internal peace, knowing that that guilt still creeps up just a little bit, of course. Like, we're human, we're having a human experience. We don't have to judge that. But you get to decide what your life looks like. You are the only person who can create that. And so when we think about how we were taught to feel our emotions growing up, we really weren't. And so now we want to start to adopt some of these really healthy emotional patterns as adults. We want to stop the people pleasing. We want to stop picking up other people's stones and learn how to build up ourselves, build up our confidence, put powerful boundaries in place so that we live a life that feels really, really good. And we have relationships around us that are really, really healthy. And this is only you can do it. This is like something that only you can do for yourself. Nobody else can do this for you. This is why a lot of people don't do it, is because the work feels really, really hard. But I promise you, like, it is so simple, but it is not easy. And that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they're not willing to do the work. So if you do want a coach and you want that one-to-one support, the accountability, somebody diving into your life with you, I am here. I am so happy to work with you. I have a few spots open for one-to-one coaching. If you want to wait for Mom Life Mastery, that is a group coaching program. So you'll be in a group of like-minded women. Those are the two options to work with me. And so I just wanted to throw those out there for you. If one of them calls to you, reach out. Let's have a conversation. You can book a free discovery call. We can just chat about something that you're struggling with, and I'll help you work through it. And if you get what you need from that, great. If you want to work with me further, great. Whatever you need. But I just want you to stop picking up other people's stones. It's time to build yourself up. It's time to build that life that you desire to live, and no longer let the unhealthy ways of dysfunction that you may have learned growing up control you and control your life. And so some ways that this shows up, I just want to share with you really quick. Some ways that you might notice this showing up is if, let's just say, you have a mother-in-law who inserts herself more often than you care for her to. That is, one, a place that you probably need boundaries, but two, it's also on her side, like showing she doesn't have boundaries either. And so she's like over inserting herself because she wants to feel better by helping you. And so she's finding her purpose in helping others and thinking that that's a really good thing, but she's like only hurting herself too. And so just kind of looking at the dynamic as a whole, this is like a bird's eye view up above, is if she, what else have I seen? Mother-in-law is crying because of the way that somebody else has reacted, and she's just like so upset by that. It's like over identification with that. Like, she could control that person and wants everything to be perfect, and it just can't be. And enabling people by, maybe you struggle financially and she continues to give you money and doesn't allow you to be accountable to your own poor financial choices. Like, there's so many things that this shows up in the family as a whole. This could be with siblings and just noticing like unhealthy dynamics that are popping up and people who are wanting to sweep problems under the rug and not actually have discussions around them, you can put boundaries around that and you can protect yourself and you can learn how to sit with the discomfort. Let your family, if they want to continue to be dysfunctional, you can't control anybody else, but you can control yourself. And I think that that's the biggest piece to understand here is that you may have learned a certain way growing up, and that is the way that your family continues to function. But now it's not feeling good to you, and you get to decide a different way to function. And knowing that they're going to try to insert themselves, they're going to try to have their own reactions, they're going to try to like, well, then I'll just like pay for the gifts for the cousins so that your kids can give the cousins a gift. And it's like, no, that defeats the whole purpose of like us opting out. I don't have the bandwidth or the space, and I don't need you to come in and try to like make it all better. This is mine. I'm owning it. You get to own your emotions of not liking that decision that I have made over here. And I'm going to clean up my side of the street. And you can choose to clean up your side of the street or not. You'll continue to be upset for a really long time. We'll continue, then this is where I see in families, they'll continue to just like sweep it under the rug. And then a few months later, they'll just like pop up like nothing happened and think that everything will go back to normal. So it's just like this whole thing. And so when we change ourselves, we are setting the example for our kids, but then we are also changing future generations. And so think about if we as moms, one at a time, are practicing these things within our house, how amazing is the world going to become outside of this when we learn how to set the healthy boundaries, when we learn how to regulate our own emotions, when we choose to let go of what we were taught growing up and we choose to no longer participate in the dysfunction. We are the cycle breakers. It changes the entire world. Like, it is so cool. And so I just want you to really think about that. When you choose, it not only changes your life as you live it now, but it's going to change your kids for the future. I have seen my kids and totally not even like, they didn't even get an idea from me, but my oldest daughter has a job and she has to be there shortly after they get home from school. And so she set a boundary with my 14-year-old. She just said, hey, if you can't make it out of school so that we can get home at a decent time for me to go to work, you're going to ride the bus. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, she set such a healthy boundary that protected her inner peace. She was like, hey, you're dragging your feet getting out of school. I have work and I only have like 10 minutes by the time I get home from school to go to work. And if you keep dragging your feet, I'm just not going to bring you home anymore. And so what happened? My younger daughter picked it up. She gets out on time. They actually get home way earlier than they ever have all year. Like, this is what I'm talking about. We are the example as moms for our kids. And so I just want you to remember that maybe you were raised in a very dysfunctional, very unhealthy dynamic in your family. You get to change it. And the fact that you are here listening to this episode tells me that you want to change it, because can you imagine your mom like listening to a podcast or thinking about therapy or hiring a coach? Probably not. It wasn't a part of that generation. So you are the cycle breaker. You are the one who gets to do it differently. And you are the one that gets to change the trajectory of your kids' lives. And you get to be the example because you get to live a life that feels so good to you. And maybe your parents didn't have a life that felt good to them. And now this is just like, they've kind of just like, well, this is just how life is. This is just who I am. This is just how it is. And they're not willing to like look at themselves. They're not willing to look at the problems. They're not willing to try to do it differently, but you are. And so I just want you to celebrate you today and let's do it differently. Let's change your life. Let's create a future that feels better for not only you, but for your kids. And if you love this episode, please share it with a friend, drop a review, share it, and tag me on Instagram at its.amandaclark. And I will talk to you next time.